Bashir saves the day. Rom saves the day. And Michael Eddington saves the day again. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we are doing a review of Deep Space Nine's Season 4, Episode 10, Our Man Bashir, directed by Weinrich Colby, written by Ronald D. Moore, and the story is by Bob Gillen, the excellent musician and lyricist. How are you today, Cirroc?
Bob, very good, very good. And I like that little play.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Doing just fine, thank you very much. This is a good one. Everybody, you remember this episode. It's a very James Bond episode. We're going to talk all about it. Just please remember to go check us out at patreon.com/the7th-rule, or just look up the 7th Rule anywhere on your favorite social media. That's 7, the number 7, TH Rule. And join the team, have some fun. We got all kinds of good stuff, and we hope you've enjoyed 12 days of content, by the way. Now, one final thing. We also have a birthday today, a very special 7th Rule birthday, Malissa Longo. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Malissa. Yes, it is the day.
We're all going to be partying together virtually, I'm sure. It'll all be virtual because we live far away too. So even if it, who knows?
Yeah, but we're still going to celebrate. And the amazing thing is that we got another birthday coming after that. So we'll be loaded up with birthdays this month. Right.
January is 7th Rule birthday month. It is insane, especially the first half of January. It's just chock full. We've got Melissa's birthday, we've got Aron Eisenberg's birthday, and we have the 7th Rule's birthday, also known as an anniversary. So look forward to all of that.
Absolutely.
Great. So let's talk about this one. First things first, do you remember last week when we reviewed an episode of Discovery? And it was about them going to see that Kelpian on that MC Escher planet, and how I said, this is kind of like that typical Star Trek trope of being stuck in a holodeck kind of episode. And what do you know, very next week, we get a being stuck in the holodeck episode, which is it's like a Star Trek tradition. But I think this is the first one you've seen, right?
Yes, this is my first being stuck in a holodeck episode. Also, my first seeing the Defiant get blow up. But yeah, it was interesting.
That was the shuttlecraft, I believe, wasn't it?
Okay, so that wasn't the Defiant.
Right, it was the Orinoco, which was like the shuttlecraft ship, kind of a bigger ship, shuttlecraft that they used to use before they had the Defiant.
Okay.
My first thought was, why aren't they using the Defiant? But we find out later it's because they kind of needed it.
Right. So that's good to know. But yeah, what's great about it is how I'm sure if this has been done before, they always find a different way to get you stuck in that holodeck, right? I'm sure this is a new way that's been created.
Yeah, and we always kind of harken back to when we're talking to like Robert Hewitt Wolf or Ira Stephen Bear, and they say that the scientific stuff, the how, and the how stuff is kind of the most boring and uninteresting part, and it kind of is to us too. The point is, it's Deep Space Nine in a James Bond movie, kind of, right? But of course, they have to figure out, okay, how do they get stuck in the holodeck? And that's the hard part. But they always come up with something, and this time they said because that was the only place that the station could save the files of their neural information or something.
Something like that or another. But yeah, no, I really like this episode. And one of the things that I enjoy about watching really well done Star Trek episodes is when they go into the period pieces and they get into a time that we're all familiar with and we all have a little bit of knowledge about. So, Far Beyond the Stars, This one set in, I think, 1964, during the Cold War. I like those kinds of period pieces. It takes our characters out of their comfort zone, puts them in a different scenario, a different period, and we get to see them shine in those kinds of moments when they do shine. And I think this was an excellent example of Bashir, uh, shining in this moment, or Alexander Siddig and Andrew Robinson, who really made this episode work.
Why is it that somehow a Cardassian looks great in a tux, and also, by the way, a Klingon looks great in a suit too? I don't know how it worked out, but for some reason, Garrick looks awesome, and Worf in that white suit looked so good. And you would think that they would look ridiculous and out of place, but somehow it worked. But there was so many cool outfits, not the least of which, of course, being Sisko's was the roof, man. I feel like everybody that watched that episode was like, damn, I want that. But I want to get your take on the wardrobe, because you've got a keen eye for that kind of stuff, and I'm sure you noticed a lot of it.
Yeah, I did notice a lot of it, and some of the things that instantly popped up in my mind when I saw Garrick was how big the neck had to have been in order to incorporate his prosthetics.
Yeah, and down all the way.
Right, because as you can see, his suit jacket is opened up a little bit farther and wider, obviously because of the neck ridges. So that was one thing that I really paid attention to. But I did think that the clothes was spot on, well done. And I mean, from everything from the negligee that Kira was wearing to all the guest stars in this episode, the James Bond guest stars, as well as Julian Bashir's wardrobe. I just liked it all. But you're right, Worf looked pretty magnificent in the white blazer.
Somehow he looked so sharp, and I don't know why or how, but he sure did.
And so much so that you almost forget that he's an alien. It's almost like he looks human with that suit on. It's kind of ridiculous, but I really did enjoy the wardrobe. I really enjoyed the set decoration as well. They had a lot of things that were like the telephones and the lamps and the furniture, which and Andy Robinson or Garrick was very critical of in this episode.
Oh, such a good line. What did he say? I want to make sure I get it exact. It was towards the end, and he wakes up and he says, another decorator's nightmare.
Exactly. I really did like that. The whole episode was like, it was a James Bond feel to it. They had we had Colin O'Brien with the eye patch with the falcon on it. I thought that was another cool touch. And of course, we were used to seeing Colm playing villains in movies, so he actually looked most comfortable in that exact role, because that's what he does when he's not on DS9. So that was pretty fun to see as well.
Yeah, he's done a lot. It feels like he is the guy that gets the most. Maybe he doesn't get the most work out of the group, but he gets the most notable roles. Because if you look at the IMDb, there people are just constantly working, but it seems like Colm keeps popping up on your TV and trailers. You know what I mean? He's actually getting you're like, wait a minute, I recognize that voice. My favorite, and I know this is way back in the day, but it was Con Air. Was it Con Air that he was in, right?
Oh yeah, he was in Con Air.
I was so excited. I was like, whoa, it's O'Brien.
Yeah. That was it. Let me text him back really quickly.
So I will say though that the outfits were cool, and I'm not a big 60s or 50s buff or 20s buff. I do like period pieces, but I tend to like period pieces that are a long time ago, like
Right.
fantasy things or, Knights of the Round Table kind of stuff, when it's like, and I do like the cheese factor of the 80s and 90s, the nostalgia of kind of going back and seeing how silly it was. But this one, so usually this kind of stuff isn't my bag, but of course it works great because it's even more of a period piece coming from the 2300s going back to the 1960s, which we do see a lot in Star Trek as well. But you're more of a you like the 60s and the 70s and those kind of pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big James Bond fan, so I've liked James Bond from the Sean Connery, Roger Moore, that era. So I kind of grew up watching it, and so already right there they've got me in on James Bond because I want to see a James Bond flick, So that was great, just to touch that and kind of cross that genre with Star Trek is a great idea. I loved it when he was like Bashir, Julian Bashir.
Yeah, that was your first hint that it was going to be like a James Bond thing. And speaking of which, we do have somebody that's jumping in on us. Suddenly, hello.
Apologize, hands in the air. I do.
Our man Bashir is here.
Have been having all kinds of problems getting here. I did get here, and I apologize to all your viewers and listeners.
Oh man,
I'm sorry, guys.
Not at all. How are you today, Sid?
I'm fine now. A whole series of family things kicked off, and being in the wrong place without the right car, and my goodness, was trouble. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you still scrambling to make it happen and jumping in.
Awesome.
I wouldn't have missed it for the world. I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
Thanks so much.
So
Our man Bashir is here in the flesh.
we were just talking about, Cirroc was talking about how we get introduced pretty quickly as to what kind of episode this is going to be.
Yeah.
And you say, well, what did he say? I already forgot what he said.
They said, what's your name right away? What's your name? And you say, Bashir, Julian.
Oh, that's
Bashir.
right. He didn't have a nickname.
Yeah.
And we go,
Bashir.
Well, I get it.
Julian Bashir. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and there were a couple of assistants that you had in this episode that were really beautiful people.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember their names, Cirroc?
Yeah, one was Mona Loves It. Is that right?
And Come On and Off.
Yes. Love it. I love it too.
Cirroc loves it.
Cirroc loves it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't any attempt to try and be like subtle in this show. It was just a huge fun fest. It was one of the big marquee shows of the season in terms of budget. And I remember the director going, "We're spending all the money for Deep Space Nine on this show, so don't go."
And so a lot of it went to the set was kind of really amazing. All the details. Love the rotating bar / bedroom.
Oh yeah.
Anybody could use one of those.
It's the thing about one of the things about Star Trek, and it came in the Next Generation, and it started particularly with this wonderful character called Q, was the holosuite, and what you could the holographic the other dimension in which you could explore your fantasies and ideas and thoughts in a place that was not physical, and. I think that was one of the things that I loved enormously about Star Trek is, and there's this whole other place where you could just live out your fantasies. And this was
right.
Fantasy for sure.
So when you first saw the script, was that your first thought that you say, wow, I get to do something totally different? Obviously, they have to put it within the Star Trek world and say all kinds of doodads about well, their memories or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or their files are stuck here. But the point is, you guys get to play in 1960s James Bond era stuff. Did they warn you ahead of time, or did you just see the script and get excited for it?
Just saw the script and got supremely excited. I mean, for those who don't really know Bashir was the guy who never really succeeded at anything social. He could not pull it off, whether it was a love life or he just had real problems in that area. And this was a chance for him to do the thing and be the guy and get the girl and do that. And it's just so perfect.
Yeah. That's what I liked about it. And of course, everybody dreams of being James Bond. As we watch the movies, we all put ourselves in the role. It's kind of like watching a Bruce Lee movie and coming out of the theater fighting and thinking you can karate kick somebody. But James Bond has been like that person who's so smooth and so calm under pressure.
Yeah.
And I think you just pulled it off remarkably well. I loved your performance in this episode.
Thank you. I was lucky. Great script, limitless budget.
Wow.
The first Arab or Indian-looking James Bond, and probably the last ever. So we got.
I don't know. I don't know, but I definitely think you pulled it off. And one of the things that played well in this episode was your relationship and your chemistry with Andy Robinson.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys played so well off of each other. And I thought that one of the central themes of this episode, which is the fact that he is the real spy. And in this episode, you're playing the spy. I love that dynamic between the two of you.
Yeah. He was such a pleasure. And, and obviously Nanab played a huge part, and she had a blast. I mean, everybody who was in it had a blast, because it was a kind of throwback to 60s misogyny, but with unfettered, without any of the political correct stuff that we have to and should put on top of it now.
Yeah.
It was just good fun, and the 60s were particularly glamorous, and originally it was Sean Connery. So this is the Bond, and then there was a big discussion about which Bond are you trying to play, Sid?
Like you got to pick one.
That's Sean Connery to me is James Bond. That's just in my mind.
To me too.
Okay. So then we're good. Then I give Roger Moore a close second. I like his performances. It's all about Connery.
Yeah, absolutely. I like Daniel Craig is my second, but Sean Connery is my first. So suave, and so I mean, that guy could pull off such a bigot. That character, Fleming's Bond, is such a despicable guy. And you just needed someone. And I think that Roger Moore was just a little, God bless his cotton socks, was just a little too charming, that he made fun of the character. I think that Connery took it seriously, and Bashir got a chance to really take it seriously in a pastiche way.
We've got to take a quick break. Speaking of blessing cotton socks, and I do want to say I want to put my name in that hat too, and say that Sean Connery for me as well. I think he's definitely the guy. But we're going to take a super quick break, and we'll come right back on The Seventh Rule. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
We also have Alexander SIDDIG, a.k.a. Bashir, Julian Bashir, joining us.
I don't have to read anything. Why have I got my glasses on?
So very quickly, we had a few trivioids that I skipped out on. You missed our trivioids at the beginning. You didn't miss much, let me be honest. Michael Eddington saves the day as usual, as we all know. Mona loves it. Speaks 7 languages. Sorry, there was more to that sentence. Kira is Anastasia. Dax is Honey Bear. O'Brien is Falcon. Kira wants to know who Dax is. Rom tells us neural energy, all kinds of crazy. Oh, this was the good one. Sisko gives us an iconic laugh. Do you remember that? Huh!
Yes. You just reminded me. That's really brilliant.
Yeah, he's good for that. And if you watch them, I mentioned this one time before, but in in the show he did, A Man Called Hawk, he would do that in that show where he would go from a straight face to a very abbreviated laugh, a short "ha," and walk and kind of. And so he's good for that. This is one of his signature things. I've never seen another person do that. But he does that really short laugh and then goes right back to wanting
Absolutely,
to kill you.
and it's quite the opposite of his real of Avery, who will laugh forever.
Right. Absolutely. You know, we were talking before you joined us about the costumes, and one of the things we thought was really well done was how good guys like Garrick. Obviously, you look great in clothes. That's just natural for you. But guys that we don't expect, like Garrick, who has the neck, and Worf with all this headdress stuff. So they looked really good. I just wanted to see if you had any comments about that. But
I mean, obviously, specially made. I mean, that is hard to build suits to fit that alien structure that those guys had. So that was, Roger Blackmon at his finest, really being pushed to come up with black tie tuxedos for a Cardassian. That was pretty epic, pretty wonderful work by Mr. Blackmon.
Yeah,
we were also talking about how surprisingly somehow a Cardassian looks good in a tux, and even Worf with his big turtle on his head looks great in this white suit, and I don't understand how that works. I don't know if they just put him in a suit and they were like, wow, they actually look good, or if they tried a bunch of suits to figure out what works well with turtle head. I don't know.
That is the subliminal effect of Star Trek. And come at the end of the day, everybody who loves this show leaves their prejudices at the door. And even Cardassians and Klingons look great in a tux. We don't have any expectations anymore. So never mind what color they all are. They just look. Everyone just looks great when they look great. I think that's one of the subtle effects of the Trek world, and one of the effects on the Trek fan base, and one of the things that fans love about it is that they can actually say without fear of prejudice, "Oh my God, Worf looks horny or hot or whatever adjective they want to use."
Yeah.
You know what? I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, he actually does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in this one, I mean, obviously you were the ladies' man in this episode, and you mentioned this earlier about how Bashir was really bad socially, and we saw that early on in the early seasons of the show. Yeah. You being shot down every chance, every attempt you made. But in this one, you were so debonair, so smooth. I can only imagine that was one of the things you were also looking forward to doing.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, the thing that I love Bashir being striking out as well with everybody. He kind of tried to get near, mainly Jadzia.
Well, then you're in luck.
Yeah, exactly. Partly because that reflected me as a person. I'm the kind of guy who strikes out. I just get it wrong.
I doubt that.
I just don't. I don't get up to. I don't talk to people. I won't dare. And people would have to sort of talk to someone on my behalf when I was that young. So I would just wait for some brave person to come and talk to me, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I'm in. I've got this. Completely the wrong way around." And so I loved it when Bashir actually was smooth, and got a little bit of my fantasy as well crept in there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's funny you say that, because I've had many people come up to me and tell me how you were the most handsome person on the show, and I always told them, "Why are you telling me this? Stop telling me."
Because they wanted you to tell him.
Well, now you know. That's what my friends and family think. So
I did a movie years ago with Gerard Butler, and it was in Dublin. And we went to, as Gerard Butler, it was just before he really kicked off. He hadn't done 300, It was early days. And we went to a nightclub after shooting one day. We went upstairs to a special VIP room because Gerard Butler could get a special VIP room. Anyway, and then he was with a couple of young ladies, and I went out to the lavatory actually, and just outside the lavatory there was this kind of fancy reception area where you could sort of wait, I guess, for the lavatory to become available. And I was just sort of hanging out there, kind of recomposing before I went back into the main event area. And this young person came up to me and said, I'd like to be with Gerard Butler. And I went, well, he's actually with 2 women right now, actually. And he said, yes, that's fine. Can you get me in after them? That's charm. Whatever Gerard Butler does is how to do. Because that guy was charming.
Serving 2, 3, 4. It's like the DMV. Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I never was lucky to live that kind of a ostentatious life like Gerard Butler, but it certainly would be a great fantasy. But I did like the way they did these subtle inserts in this episode. For example, when Kira's laid out on the bed and the bar turns around, she introduces herself as this Russian KGB agent, Anastasia. But then she goes on and she says, I have some important news for you, and pulls an envelope from behind her, and then pulls another envelope from another place. And I'm like, where were all these envelopes in? And I love the little humor right there. I love the humor of the gun that you made out of a pen or something you pulled out of your
and the heel of my shoe.
Yes. That was a cool little prop. I know you had fun with that when they gave it to you for a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I could hang around with all those stuff. I had great fun doing all of that. The attention they paid to, remember Bud and Pat, who were 2 people, Bud and Pat, who are props guys, and we called them one name, just Bud and Pat. They took such pride with Joe Longo, who was the prop master, in making these things and putting these things together and making sure that we're curating them, looking after them. I really miss that kind of expertise. I haven't really bumped into that. When people do that job for what feels like hundreds of years, and then they come onto your show and they just have everything perfectly set out for you, and they show you. They took you through props how to work props, and you had to have little prop rehearsals because they had to work just so perfectly. And they did, and it was just fantastic. I mean, just bringing it up, I just remember, wow, what pros! I don't think I've worked with such a group of well-oiled pros since.
Wow, really taking pride in their work, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Really.
Now, I wanted to ask a question. We kind of already touched on a little bit how excited you were when you saw this kind of episode you were going to get. But besides you, do you remember anybody in particular being super excited about doing this type of show, whether it's just because they love holodeck stuff or because they love the 60s or they love the outfit, or was there somebody else besides you that was really into it?
I think Nana was really into it. I mean, I think she really enjoyed herself. I mean, she had kind of that lead part, that like dangerous Black Widow territory. And so I think she really enjoyed it. And it touched on elements of her real life because her brother was a CIA guy and
oh wow,
a very shady individual who was part of the original 60s experiments of I guess it was the Pentagon using the early LSD potential and all that stuff. You should ask her about it. It's an astonishing story. And so she knew or had been told all about the real life version of the Black Widow that her brother worked with, and they worked together and would go off to foreign countries and on missions and do pretty terrible things, frankly, but nevertheless they come on back. And so she got to play a kind of glam version of that. So she really understood what she was doing in that show. I think everybody was really. Sometimes these shows come along, and it's just people take it's like a mini vacation for the cast.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a couple of others with Mirror Universe shows, and when we play other characters, and that's like, oh, this is fun. We get to do something else. It was very hard work. It was quite long days, and it was back in the time when we were still doing regularly 18, 16-hour days, and that would, and then you'd turn around and come straight on back. And they had a thing called a forced call at SAG, which they meant that they allowed you to come back kind of illegally after only a very short break, 6 or 7 hours, as long as they paid you $1,000. That was kind of the nominal fee for an actor, by the way. The crew, not so much. Yeah. And so I remember earning, $6,000 extra that episode, just because I came back every single day after only 6 or 7 hours break so I had a forced call every day. It was crazy. That was back in those days. And then it got so dangerous because people would fall asleep at the wheel going home, crew members. And we sadly lost 2 crew members over the course of the season. And thank God they just put a stop to it. That's it. No more. No, everyone gets to work just a normal day. So we've just worked, the 13 hours that we're supposed. That's considered a normal day with a 1-hour lunch break. And TV, the whole studio's mentality changed about how hard you could press people. I don't remember Cirroc. I mean, you wouldn't. Obviously, you were very well cared for because as a minor, they wouldn't dream of. There are strict laws about how you treat youngsters. Right. But there was one day we did on the pilot, an emissary that was 22 hours long. 22 hours is crazy talk. I think it was called Triple Golden Time by Union Rules. Everybody in the crew loved it because they got so much overtime. Yeah. Just like, how do we do it? They got a week's wages in one night.
Right.
Cirroc, do you remember 22 hours with your fishing pole in that episode?
No, I didn't do any of the fishing pole work for that long. But I do remember the long hours and what Sid's saying is the quick turnaround. So, we had people that lived an hour or so away. So if you lived in Palmdale or one of these farther places, that means after you wrap, you have to get in your car, drive an hour, and get to sleep, and then have another turnaround 6 hours later. You have to be back at work. So there's really no time for sleep or rest or anything.
It ends up being very dangerous.
Yeah. It is dangerous, yeah. But how was your holidays, and how is the Sid City going?
It's been lovely, thank you. My holidays were great. We had a really terrific beef Wellington and lovely vegetables and whatnot. And Shauna, my wife's mother, came over, and her sister, who, not Shauna's sister, but Shauna's aunt, her mom's sister, who is absolutely adorable, but no one seems to trust her regarding COVID. So they actually put her in the hallway to eat while we ate in the dining room. And I was like, hey, how you doing? Okay? Baby, you okay? Well, just wait. Just wait. That's what we're used to. And so she seemed fine with it.
Did she have like a little TV tray, or is that?
We set up a nice little table for her, but she just was like 16 feet away in another room.
So, yeah, there's like a rope to pull the dishes back. Like, I got it. No.
And Sid City's going really well. I mean, it's been, we have really lovely guys there who come and hang out, and we all kind of feel like we know each other now, and I think we probably do. We have a few new people, which is always fun, and it's been tremendous. And I think it's been really helpful, just like this Zoom, to make people feel they're kind of in contact with something that has some continuity, and like this podcast, I mean, and gives them comfort. It's like, oh, this is fresh, but it's something I understand, and it's still here, and it's bedrock, and I get the chance to meet some of the people and definitely talk to both of you guys, Ryan and Cirroc, and make sure that I'm still in one piece every day. Remind myself that I'm still I can have a good time. Remind myself that life hasn't completely changed. Right. So we're plugging along, and everybody seems in good spirits.
No, I'm glad you mentioned the Sid City, Cirroc, because Sid, I don't know if you see it, but out on social media, people keep talking about it. Keeps getting tweeted around and retweeted, and even behind closed doors through messages, people are saying, "Oh, it's so great. Sid is he's so nice, and he's so eloquent with people." And like, they say that you really take the time to get to know people. It's not like speed dating. It's like quality time between two people, and then quality time between somebody else. And that really gives people a chance to really sink their teeth into it. Because a lot of times interactions with celebrities such as yourself are short, and people think, I don't even remember what I said to him or her. You know, I said some things and it was great, and now it's over. But it's just like a heart to heart. It's two people connecting for minutes at a time, and people seem to really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I mean, I'm getting to know them, and goodness knows I've got to know hundreds of people now. So it's been a really worthwhile pursuit, and we go deep. Yeah, we talk about everything. How their family is, who they are, what their parents did, what their parents do, what their dreams are after COVID. It's amazing what wonderful people.
The other thing I think that you have done a really great job of is bringing stories to life through your table readings of these different stories. And I think it's so necessary. And I also think it's just a wonderful job that you're doing with Matt. And
you, Cirroc, you're the one who's helping out. You're the one who's making it all work. You're the lead guy in the whole thing.
I'm just one spoke in the wheel, but I'm honored to be a part of it. And I think you're doing some really great work. And I think it's just great to see it come to life and see these, just to have stories that are well thought out. Would you consider doing a show, a version of Our Man Bashir, maybe a part 2 in the Sid City?
That'd be fun, wouldn't it? I mean,
I think so.
Yeah, the thing is, there are so many. I mean, our group, and I'm sure a lot of the guys who enjoy this podcast are super talented, and they write, and they come up with their own fiction, and it could be Star Trek inspired or some other thing. And I read some of these things, and I was like, this is just terrific. We are not changing we don't change a word, do we? We just read what they've written. We don't edit it. We don't go, hey, Bashir wouldn't say it like this. And there are dozens of these stories. So it's actually great fun to just go, hey, you know what? This isn't wasted. Watch this. We're gonna show you this with some of the guys that actually did this stuff back in the 90s. And it's been a lot of fun. And I think a lot of people really enjoyed the fact that they get to see these characters together again. And that's kind of fun. I hope other people do it with other things, because I think especially in this time of COVID, we're just, what are we doing? Nothing. We're dreaming of working, but we're not working. At least I'm not. And I think we can just dip into have competitions, write a story, we'll read it. Do it's just something. Express yourself,
right?
And we'll help. That's kind of what it was all inspired by that. Remember back in the day when Milan was really, really hit hard by Italy. Milan in Italy was really hit hard by COVID, and it was like the first story of massive destruction and carnage, and people really, dying in vast numbers, and everybody was locked away in their apartments. And the Italians don't do things lightly. They didn't let people out, not even to walk their dog for a few days there. Mm-hmm. And what the Italians did was they got on the roof of their buildings, and the ones who could play instruments played instruments, and the ones who could sing sung. And so Milan rung with opera as people communicated to each other. And I just thought that was so beautiful an image of these people being out of work but still able to give what they do professionally for free to everybody. So that kind of inspired that.
Absolutely. And then also because we're all suffering from this new social distance mandates, that it's important that we still have social interaction, even if we can do it virtually, even if we can do it through other means. But it does massage a place in you that needs to constantly have attention. We need each other. We're on this planet together. We're suffering or enjoying together. So, being isolated is actually one of the great forms of punishment when you're in jail. That's how they
solitary
punish people.
confinement. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's
I'm
that's
proud
how
to say I need people.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking when you're talking about how in Milan and other places in Italy they would sing to each other, they would play instruments. It's that human interaction that they're missing, that we're all missing, and a lot of people, they take it for granted until they don't have it, and then they start going like, I don't care what it is. I want to talk to people. I want to be a part of something. I want to work with somebody. I want to hear somebody's voice, and, whether it's a podcast or a TV show, or it's, being on the streets and singing next to a stranger, singing in the apartment next door that you've been living in for 12 years and never met this person. But it takes something like this for you to be like, thank God he plays the tuba, or something.
There was that video not long ago, maybe a month or two ago, of this guy, this black guy who was on a university campus, and he just started singing, and it was a music university, and he wasn't a student there, but he just had this beautiful voice, this operatic voice, and this woman who was a young student who was studying opera just sung with him, and as a duet, this white young girl. And it went obviously viral because it was like a show of spontaneity and love between two races, etc., etc. But my God, how important it is for us to communicate. And if we can do it through art or through something, remember your mom telling you when you were growing up, I really prefer when you give me presents that you've made to presents that you buy. And we should not let the idea that we can make things even as adults for each other all the time, if it's a song or a verse, or we just got to keep doing that stuff. And what you're doing right now is a thing made is so much more beautiful than a thing bought.
Very quickly, that reminds me of an old African proverb I heard a long time ago. The short and skinny of it is that this kid's grandmother was going to turn 80 years old or 100 years old or some milestone thing. So he travels, he walks for 3 days, he scoops up some sand, he walks for 3 days back just in time for her birthday. He says, here you go, grandmother, here's the sand from the Sahara Desert. He said, well, why did you do that? We have sand here. And he said, well, the journey was part of the gift.
That's beautiful.
Love that one.
Beautiful. That's absolutely true. We should make a lot of effort for each other. Maybe COVID will teach us that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. I just keep running back in this scene in my head from this episode. I'm sorry to get back on the episode, guys.
That's why we're here.
Yeah,
I love this episode. And one of the things that I really love, that I think is really special about Deep Space Nine, because they are one of the best, if not the best, out of the Star Trek to do this, which is being so clever in their writing. And this is the thing that I thought was clever in this episode. Garrick tells you, I'm the real spy. I've survived because I learned how to quit when I was ahead, and that's why I'm alive, and none of my other contemporaries are not. You listen to that.
Right.
Completely object to that idea, but yet use the same exact line to defend yourself at the end. And I love that. That is really clever writing to me.
It is.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that.
What great writing. How lucky we were. Yeah. How lucky.
Yeah.
Ronald D. Moore did the teleplay for that.
One of the MVPs of the writing room. Really amazing. Really great. And look what he went on to do. A couple of things.
You might have heard of him. Yeah.
We do just have a couple minutes left. I'm sure we'll cover this episode more on our free for all after this. But Sid, would you like to give us just a button on this episode. Any final thoughts or fond memories of it?
I really, it was incredibly hard work, but my favorite kind of art, if there's a way of, if I would say, use such a highfalutin word, is generous art. That's usually my qualification for something I watch or do or go and see. If I look at a wall and see a canvas and I feel that is a generous painting, that everything that person knows up to that time is on that canvas, same as in that movie, and that's one of the reasons why I love some Wes Anderson stuff, and a lot of they're just full of generosity, lots of Where's Waldo going on in every frame. And I thought that the episode was extremely generous. It was we threw the kitchen sink into that show. Everybody put their heart in it, right from Butter Pat to Nana and to everybody else. They all put everything they knew into that show. So it's an act of generosity, and I think that's one of the things that makes me happiest and most satisfied about it.
Yeah. I love the moment where Worf asks you for £5 million, and you reach into your wallet and you pull out one like this, and you lay it down. You're like, there it is.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I love the moment. I know I'm not asking you a question and I'm just making a comment, but
that's good.
These are just things that I've just seen the episode for the first time. I know I'm late, a little bit late, but I was so delighted by it, and it showed me a side of your character that I think is closer to who you are or how I envision you are. So I actually think of you, Sid, as a James Bond kind of smooth operator. So I love to see this episode.
Thank you. I'm so not.
To me, you are. So thank you for giving us this gift.
I'll take it, Cirroc.
This is great.
Well, we do have to run, but this is a great episode. It's in a long line of great Stuck in a Holodeck episodes, and people letting their imaginations go wild. They're always so much fun. It's got to be so much fun for the people acting in these, because they can play something else for a minute, and it does feel like playing. It feels like you get to play for a minute, even if the hours are crazy long. But Sid, thank you so much for joining us. Really cool. So much fun having you. We love having you always.
Thank you, Ryan. I'll come back anytime. Thanks. I'm a big fan.
Great.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
The rest of the holiday, I hope it ends for a good big bang with you, and also that everyone gets really speedy, healthy recovery for whatever ailments they're going, including our guy.
Yeah. Let's hope it's a good one. Let's hope the next one.
Oh, it's going to be a great one. Yeah. I hope. Anyway, thank you so much. Everybody watching, stay tuned. Stick around for the free-for-all, and we'll be right back on the 7th Rule. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the 7th Rule. This is the free-for-all. We are joined by Natasha Louise out in Utah, Eve England out in Wales. More on that in a second. We also have, as you know, Mr. Alexander SIDDIG. We have TJ in Missouri. We have Katie in Indiana. We have Cirroc in LA. But first things first, have you seen that really cool picture online a couple weeks ago that Star Trek retweeted that had the entire ship, Discovery ship, and pretty much every single character out of Gingerbread? That was Eve England, and she wants to tell us all about it.
Yes, tell us.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, just sort of, it's sort of a bit of a tradition actually in our house that we've tended to do like a gingerbread construction a couple of Christmases. So we've done a Nakatomi Plaza. We've done, I did a TARDIS once. I did an 8080 one year. And then, so this year I thought, yes, Discovery's back on. So I thought that, and that sounded like it was going to be quite easy. Not quite, but so I decided to make a gingerbread, but I sort of use a proper recipe so it's fully edible. I haven't eaten it yet. I can't bring myself to do it. And then I did all the I found this really I know. But I did find this tiny cookie cutter in the garden centre just before Christmas. Like, oh, that would just be perfect, rather than making lots of big gingerbread. So they're sort of little tiny ones. So I decided to make the crew from the current season as well. So it's got lots of little tiny cute Discovery crew members as well. So it actually came out really well. I was really pleased with it. But yes,
how did you stick pieces together? How did you stick it together? What's your medium?
I just used butter and not butter icing, royal icing, and it did work really well. What I did do, I made these like clear boxes so I could balance it onto that, because obviously the nacelles were sort of way too long and skinny to stay up by themselves. But I put them on these cube sort of plastic things, so it's still standing. So very impressed. So it's fully edible. So I didn't use any particular glue or sort of cooking glue or anything like that. It's just icing and gingerbread from the Hummingbird Bakery recipe book, if anyone wants to make it. So it was good fun.
And before we move on from that, please let the world know, and especially Sid here, what you do for the rugby tournament every year, which is my favorite. It's the coolest thing. Follow Eve on Instagram or Twitter. We'll put the link in the description box below, and her website as well. But tell us about the rugby thing.
Yeah, so obviously huge rugby fans in Wales, so we watch the Six Nations every year. So I do what we call the Six Biscuits. So we do a team from each of the nations in gingerbread with their current kit. So every time we watch the games, so at the end, whoever loses gets broken up, and we do the score with the full one and the one who's like totally destroyed, and then it's may the best biscuit win at the end of the tournament. So.
Brilliant! That's like a gingerbread Subbuteo, but rugby.
Exactly. Yeah, that's good fun. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love rugby too. It's great sport to watch.
And we've got a good banter in my house because my husband is English, and I'm Welsh, so it's can get a bit tense.
Nice.
Yeah, he's the happy bunny this year, obviously. Yeah.
We're gonna let Sid take over for a minute because I got a request from Cirroc to find the actual gingerbread image. If you don't mind, Sid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Since you're a pro at this with your Sid City that you do constantly, it's so amazing. So you're better than any of us at this.
That's rubbish.
No.
Yeah, only British people say that's rubbish to someone's face. Well, I don't know anything about any of you, so I'd like to know something about it. TJ, where you are in Missouri?
And Missouri.
I heard Missouri.
I just call it Missouri because that's what. Yeah.
Well, is there a real thing about whether or not people call it Missouri or Missouri? Is that okay? What is it? What's the cultural thing behind that?
I am not a native of Missouri, so I've always said Missouri. There are some people here that say Missouri.
Okay, cool. I never knew because I was like, is it cool to call it Missouri? You're supposed to just call it Missouri if you're born and bred.
I suppose so.
Okay. That's cool etiquette. Good to know, certainly for me.
It is.
So what's going on? What's going on in Missouri? What's going on in your neck of the woods, in your world?
In my neck of the woods, well, all is well. It's the weather is kind of back and forth. It's been cold. The past couple of days have been a little bit warmer, so that's been nice. I've been seeing, some people be able to get out in the yard and walk up and down the street. I'm watching our college basketball team right now that almost gave up a lead, but they're battling back, and I hope they win. I have yet to go to a game. We're able to attend the games, but I have not been to one this season. I'm kind of trying to judge whether that's a smart decision or not.
I hope you get to go to one if that's what your passion is. I'm a basketball. I'm really. I don't dislike basketball, but I just don't get it. I watched the Lakers and the Clippers once when I was in Australia, and I watched it live, and there's a great atmosphere, and I know these are the finest basketball players in the world, etc. but it seemed to all hinge on someone not scoring. And I couldn't understand a game where not to score was more important than scoring, because you kind of go from one end to the other and you score. It's like, it's a given. You're going to score. And then someone doesn't score, and it's like, God, they didn't score. And that's how it's kind of built on a negative. And I never really understood that. It's like 94 to 105. I mean, I know it's a great sport, and the athleticism is there for everybody to see. Goodness gracious, you couldn't possibly, I couldn't. It would be. I've told you a bit about my dancing. I'm not going to try and even pretend like I'm a good basketball player. I watched a lot of football because my wife's a huge Pats fan.
Okay.
And that I think basketball is a bit more exciting than that because they stopped.
So the Pats have a completely new look this season. How is that?
They've imploded.
Yeah.
My wife is just walks around miserable because they can't. They're not playing well anymore.
It's the first year of the rebuild.
Yeah, that's what we're called. And Natasha, Salt Lake City.
Hi.
Hi. And how are you and your family?
Oh, we're well, thankfully. Yeah, we're thankfully on the mend. Myself personally on the mend. I've gone through a really rough time.
Because you had some surgery. And
I've had multiple surgeries. I literally died last year. And I've gone through a lot of surgeries since then. So I'm on the rebuild. So
what terrible timing though for you. I mean, this is the one, nobody.
Oh yeah, but we're on the mend, and thankfully we've been able to steer clear of the COVID, and we have my stepson is 9, which has been really hard for him, but he's in school, so we've been worried about that. But thankfully we've all been clear of that, which is a grateful blessing.
Yeah. Is your core family still together?
Well, my family is very spread apart. I'm the oldest of 9 children, and so we are all over the place. My brother is in the military, so he's in South Carolina. My husband's in the military here in Utah. My other family's in California. I've got other family in Arizona. We're all over the place.
But you must be such a strong unit to get through what you have been through. I mean, you're the one facing it.
We have a lot of FaceTime calls nowadays. This has been a nice blessing, like FaceTime and all these Star Trek meetups and stuff. This has been really fun. This stuff keeps me going.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun to do virtual treks and our Friday night trek meetings just for funsies. Yeah. So yeah, they're fun.
Well, I wish you just the speediest of recoveries. Complete.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. We're on the up, we think.
Right.
We hope.
Well, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Alex, her husband.
Oh.
Natasha and Alex, we see them every year at Star Trek Las Vegas. They're 2 of the coolest people ever. And we just want to make sure when you do mention the tightly knit group, we got to mention Alex, as I'm assuming he's kind of the rock behind you because you guys are inseparable whenever we see you, and he's a radical dude, even if he's ignoring us right now.
A big shout out.
He's watching Breaking Bad again. Like we're rewatching it again. So I was like, honey, I'm recording. You gotta put your headphones in for this one. I don't think anybody wants to hear the Breaking Bad. He's like, okay, babe. But no, he's not ignoring. He's just enthralled. Breaking Bad.
To the show.
Breaking Bad.
And Katie is going to be a professional dancer.
Yes, I hope. I hope. Thank you.
You've got to put mind to it. You are. If you don't mind that hard work and that ridiculous amount of work that you have to do, you punish your body for as long as you do.
Yes, it's been many years, but I have to say my mother's kind of been like the wind beneath my wings to always, never give up.
Yeah.
So
you don't get to be where you are without a mom who supports you, because she's got to drive you to all those things every single day.
Every day, yep.
Time. Wow, well, she must be a wonderful mom.
She is. It's just me and her. So there's been a lot of trials and tribulations, but we've gotten through it. And it now being in a university, and she's actually my housing. That's why everything's all covered up. We just got our things from storage. So now we're just unpacking, and we're finally going to be settled here for 4 years until I graduate. So.
Do you dream of being a prima ballerina, like the soloist, or being in the corps? Where's
I love corps pieces. Like we were able to perform our Nutcracker, but not live. We had to do it with mass, and it was recorded. And on Christmas Eve, they actually put it on television, so we were able to record it and watch it. And I was watching the snow flakes and the flowers, and I don't know, there's just something about corps work that's so magical. I mean, of course, to be like Odette or Odile and Swan Lake would be a dream, but there's just something beautiful about the corps work and working together, and just how in sync and beautiful it is. So.
Agree. Watching 14 young people moving in perfect synchronicity, and then peeling off, and then counter synchronicity.
Yeah,
that's where the
exactly.
Too. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
it's like
and of course you can do like anyone can do a solo. I mean, you have to go up the ranks and stuff, but corps work. I had a teacher many years ago at a summer intensive said the hardest work you will ever do is corps or a pas de deux with a partner, which I also love. That's my second favorite, is working with partnering. But there's something about the corps that's just, and any ballet is beautiful.
Wow.
Thank you.
Well, what?
Thank you.
In fact, I'm taking over because I see a special starship.
Yeah. Also, Cirroc reminds us that if you're not ready for corps, try Coors Light. So here's
your agonizer, please.
That's just because we had an episode with the right before last week with the sort of Kalis, and Kor was the Klingon, and Cirroc's nickname for him is Coors Light. Moving on, this is Eve's good work here. It's cut off a little bit down there. I feel like a weatherman. This is Discovery. There are actually 3 rows, but check it out online, guys. Just Google it or find Eve in
art. My goodness.
That is so amazing.
Yeah, the fun activity is to zoom into that and try to identify each of the crew members, which I don't think that I successfully identified them all.
I was able to do it, right, Eve? Although I think Eve was a little generous when she said spot on, because I think I flip-flopped Adira in gray, but everybody else I did perfectly. I think. At least she said yes.
Guys,
so you went into detail on each one of those little miniature gingerbread characters.
Yeah, I try to think of what the main sort of feature of that character was, and just try to keep it simple, to be honest. So I mean some of them are fairly easy because they, so you've got the Linus, I think, is my favorite. I think he's just the cutest one, and I think he's one of the most recognizable. But yeah, no,
Detmer is recognizable too, though.
Yeah.
You don't, in the 3rd row that you can't see, there's also Grudge the cat. That one's pretty recognizable. That one's pretty easy to catch.
Yeah.
And so that ship is also a gingerbread ship, right? Is it?
Yeah. So I basically found some pictures online and cut out the templates with paper first, and just cut them out on the gingerbread, and stuck them together with the icing. So in terms of it, it did take a while because you had to do it in stages, but it was, in terms of actually getting the shapes, it was quite a nice shape to do, because the shapes kept their shape when they baked. A lot of things kind of spread too much. So yeah, so I was quite pleased with it, and then just use some glitter and icing pens to jazz it up a little bit. So yeah, really pleased, and I got some great feedback from everyone online. It was just so, especially with all the lockdown stuff going on, it was just so nice having so much positivity and everyone enjoying. I was so surprised how many people sort of liked it. It was just amazing. So
Oh, it's amazing. Yes.
Being so nice about it. Yeah.
And a lot of media outlets actually picked it up, and Star Trek actually, the official Star Trek actually retweeted it as well, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So since we only, sorry, go ahead, Sid.
No, I was just going to say, just on the gingerbread theme, someone just put an 8-foot gingerbread monolith on a hillside somewhere.
I saw that. Yes.
That's insane.
Wow.
Dogs started eating it.
These monoliths are just popping up all over the place now.
See, Eve, somebody's trying to take your crown. You gotta one up them.
It might be me. You never know.
No, you've got the gingerbread 2020 crown right there with that. Stay tuned for Deep Space Nine next year.
I know. I was going to, but I thought that structure would just be. I think I need a structural engineering degree or something to make that. I think maybe the Defiant. Maybe that might be easier.
Eve, I do have a question. Have you ever tried going, I know in the midst of COVID and everything, but have you ever tried going on like the Great British Baking Show or one of those shows to compete? Your gingerbread looks amazing.
I think I'd get too stressed. It's quite nice when you can do it in the comfort of your own home with nobody watching you, and then you can get it all in pictures when it's done. I just don't think I could cope with that pressure of doing everything in a live audience. But yeah, a few people have said that to me. I was like, oh my gosh, no, that would just be my sort of worst nightmare. But it'd be fun. But no, I think at the moment I'll stick to my own kitchen.
Sounds like a maybe. So we only have a few minutes left. So real quick, let's just kind of go around. This will just be like a fun little question that we like to do at the end of every show. The question for this week is Julian Bashir related. If there were one character from any Star Trek series that you think would be a really interesting and or fun situation in which they meet Julian Bashir, what would be create a nice dynamic? Like if you think it would be fun for, Beverly Crusher and Julian Bashir to talk it out and come out with a solution to a medical problem or something. So that's the question. I know everybody's thinking. TJ already has his, so we'll start with you.
I'm going to go with Dr. Phlox. Because I think they would have interesting conversations. I know Dr. Bashir was excited about being able to practice "quote unquote" frontier medicine, and how much more frontier does it get than being the first doctor on the first Warp 5 ship in Starfleet? So I think they would have interesting conversations about the different things that they encountered.
It's a great idea.
That's a good one. I knew it was gonna be. I knew it was gonna be Enterprise, and when I thought of this question ahead of time, I was like, "Ooh, Dr. Phlox is a good one." But I'm glad you took it because you could explain it better than I could. What about you, Katie?
I would go with Tom Paris from Voyager. Number one, he was a nurse practitioner, and number two, he had a real interest in history. And so did Dr. Bashir, and that's why I like both our characters, is because I'm a history geek myself. So I think both could definitely come up with lots of fun holodeck programs, and then also kind of talk about the medical end of things. So
that's a great idea.
Do you think that Harry and Tom would go into Bashir's James Bond holodeck program, or do you think Garrick and Bashir would go into Tom and Harry's program?
I really couldn't see Bashir in the Captain Proton one. I would say because he's so more sophisticated, I would see Tom and Harry joining him and all of them in Texas, and I would see that, and that would be so fun.
Yeah.
Natasha, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about having him have a little kind of flirty / psychology session with Deanna Troi, because he's always getting into trouble with the ladies by misreading their signals or being a little too late to the party. So maybe she could help figure him out a little bit.
That's a great
idea. Some tips.
Because Bashir was empathetic, if nothing else.
But maybe she could give him better advice.
They would have hit it off on that front. Yeah, absolutely.
Like maybe turn off your empathy for a minute and use your brain. Maybe use your super brain instead of just your empathy all the time.
Exactly. Think before you open that mouth of yours.
Well, Eve, it's come to this.
Oh, I was going to say Tom Paris, actually, like Katie, because I thought immediately, I thought they just love the holodecks. But I've had to think of someone else. I'd probably go for Philippa Giorgio and think we could have a section 31 with Dr. Bashir, and because I think they would just clash in a most hilarious way. I would love it.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Cirroc, do you have any thoughts to throw out there?
Yeah, I was thinking of the new Discovery and Wilson Cruz as Culber. And I was thinking if Bashir could interact with Culber, I think that Culber would want to leave Stamets to pursue Bashir. And for the first time, you'd be on the receiving end of the same thing you've been dishing out. I think that would be great.
That's great.
Wow. You know, that's funny because when I thought of this question, the people I thought of were Phlox, Tom and Harry, and Culber and Stamets. But I was thinking because Culber and Stamets, I think Bashir would be fascinated with the whole spore drive connecting to a human kind of thing and all that. So I'll have to change my answer. And I think Bashir would have a really good, fascinating conversation with Guinan. I think Julian would want to sit down and just kind of probe her mind and just talk to her about life and history. And you know, they probably wouldn't even talk about the Federation. They probably wouldn't even talk about medicine. But I feel like, you know, he's got like that very eager and inquisitive mind. And she's got so much knowledge to tell. I think they'd have a really fun conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
what about you? Do you have any thoughts on that, Sid?
I think from a comedy point of view, which I think is would be really entertaining, is to have put Bones McCoy and Dr. Bashir in the same place.
That was my second choice.
It's like the master and the puppy. And it's like, what does this button do? What does this button do? Will you stop that? You need to pick again?
Yeah. Yes. That thought crossed my mind as well.
Great. Well, we're just about out of time here. Everybody that's listening in, feel free to give your answers to this extremely hypothetical question and probably never going to happen question. But be sure to give us your answers and tell us why. And also thank Sid for joining us because he's been so wonderful about sharing his time with us. We really appreciate it. And thanks for classing up the place.
Smashing.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sid.
Thank you so much.
Great.
So that's about it. And everybody check out the links in the description box below. Everything we covered will be down there. You'll see Eve England's full gingerbread display. If you haven't already, you probably have. But definitely check it out. And thank you all very much for joining us. And as always, remember the 7th rule.